Ireland fans are looking forward to St. Patrick's Day despite lockdowns, but there's no longer any Guinness in German beverage stores. It is more difficult for black gold to find its way to Germany because of Brexit? Who knows? By the way, you should stay tuned until the end if you don't want to miss anything interesting. And if you don't want to miss anything at all, just subscribe to my channel and click the little bell. Only then you'll get a notification. If you want to celebrate St. Patrick's Day at home this Wednesday because the Irish pubs are still closed, you may have problems with Guinness shopping if you are in Germany. Above all, the black gold from the Green Island is currently missing on the shelves of German beverage markets. The Guinness draft brand in particular is currently difficult to obtain in Germany. There are delivery bottlenecks, says Birte Kleppin, spokeswoman for the Radeberger Group, responsible for Guinness sales. But it's not the fault of the new transport routes that have been avoiding Great Britain since Brexit, they believe. The Brexit issue has worked well, says Kleppin. The bottlenecks result, like so many distortions in demand and sales, from the corona pandemic. Guinness and Kilkenny are brands that are strongly anchored in the catering industry. Yeah, and I know both of them because you can have them here. Beer fans would like them to be freshly tapped. As a substitute, many prefer to use a can of Guinness instead. This is provided with a pressure ball, which provides the typical head of foam when stouting. According to Kleppin, this is a fact that demands proper production planning. It's not as easy as just canning something. Another obstacle, according to the Guinness parent company Diageo, is that due to the pandemic, some parts that are needed for the packaging of Guinness Draught are scarce. Bars are also closed worldwide. This has shifted consumer demand for Guinness to retail, says Diageo. This is also the case in Ireland itself. According to a decision by the Irish government, pubs there have been completely closed since March 15th, 2020. And it didn't look much better here. Only gastropubs that also serve food were allowed to open for a short time in summer 2020. The country is currently at the highest level of lockdown. A cautious easing of the pandemic measures is not expected before April. Despite the Europe-wide shift in alcohol sales to retail, there was a 2% drop in exports of Irish food, beverages and horticultural products compared to 2019, according to the Irish Times. This also includes the losses in the alcohol industry, which is hardest hit, according to the Irish Food Authority Bord Bia. Irish manufacturers recorded a decline of 19% to 1.3 billion euros. Whiskey exports fell by more than 200 million euros. And the Dutch government has lifted the ban on flights from the UK. This is reported by the specialist magazine Arrow. According to Dutch government officials, there is no point in pursuing this regulation since the mutated virus variant from Great Britain has already spread in the interior of the country. At a press conference earlier this week, representative of the Dutch government announced that the landing ban for flights arriving from Great Britain would be suspended from Monday. Due to mutated virus variants from Great Britain and South Africa, flight connections taking off from the kingdom have not been allowed to land within the Netherlands for several weeks. However, with a few exceptions, entry for passengers from outside the European Union remains prohibited, including students and business travelers. In the end, government representatives considered it pointless to pursue this regulation in the context of the mutated virus variants that are already widespread domestically. And it's not only in the Netherlands, it's here in Germany and even in my hometown too. Since last Monday, ferries from Great Britain have been allowed to dock again and planes have been allowed to land again. Passengers must still present a negative test result from COVID-19 upon entry and be quarantined upon arrival in the Netherlands. If a government in the current situation and the general uncertainty of all-round mutated virus variants of COVID-19 from Great Britain and South Africa repeals existing measures to contain the infection rate, this is primarily positive and mostly also relieving news. However, if such a decision is made on the grounds that further pursuit of the measures would be pointless due to the already immense infection rate and the domestic spread of these mutations, then this news unfortunately appears quite unsettling. And one of the few dairies allowed to make Stilton said it has had to stop sales to the European Union since Brexit. Hartington Creamery at Pike Hall, Derbyshire said the paperwork needed for each order was costing too much. It added, however, that sales have surged in the US and Canada. The government said it was working closely with traders, adjusting to the new arrangements. Simon Spurrell, the director of Hartington Creamery, said each parcel, pallet or container of Stilton required a veterinary surgeon certificate costing £180 per destination. While the average online order costing just £30, he said there was absolutely no way they could continue with what was a lucrative online sales business before Brexit. About 20% of our overall online turnover was with the EU, he said. We've had that completely and utterly wiped off overnight. The cheese has protected designation of origin status, and by law, Blue Stilton can only be produced in Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire and Leicestershire. Mr. Spurrell said the very upsetting situation came as a total surprise. Well, it's not a surprise if you ever looked into what's going to come. He first came across the issue in the second week of January when he had 60 parcels of cheese returned from the EU with no explanation. He's now looking at how business can operate internationally in the future, with options either being to create a distribution warehouse in the EU or to focus on the US market. He said, "We've had a surge in interest in consumer sales from the US. A trade deal agreed just before Christmas also saw the dairy gets its first Canadian shipment. However, he added the shipping costs across the Atlantic were expensive." A spokesperson from the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, said, "We continue to work closely with traders, and there's extensive advice available to support businesses as they adjust to the new arrangements." Well, they should have done that a long time ago. "It is vital that traders ensure their exports have the correct paperwork to comply with the new animal and animal product checks when they cross the EU border." Once again, this is not new arrangements. And those are old arrangements. The UK were part of setting up those rules for third countries. And everyone in that government, if they know how to do their job, knew about all these things years ago. They could have prepared the economy for that. They could have informed everyone years ago what is supposed to be expected, because all that's making trouble now, the non-tariff trade barriers. It was always clear that those will only be lifted for members of the customs union and the single market. Every third country that doesn't want to be a member of customs union and single market has to live with that. And that was clear already in 2015. And that's how, and since 2016, when the vote came in, they knew this is going to come. Everybody knew that this cannot be deleted by a trade agreement. The EU will not allow that. And everybody knew that. So the government should have informed the companies properly. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.